Farmall 560, 1958 to 1963. Manufactured by International Harvester at its plant in Rock Island, Illinois, once the industrial heart of America. Between 1958 and 1963, about 65,560s were sold. The original price was around $4,300, a huge sum for farmers at the time, when the average income was around $3,500 a year. Today, if you can find one in good working condition, it will cost you between $5,000 and $9,000, depending on whether it was diesel or gasoline, original or refurbished. The Farmall 560 was once ubiquitous throughout the Corn Belt, from Illinois to Ohio to Indiana. Its red color was the color of the harvest, the color of hope, the color of farmers who still believed in their hands and their tractors. The 560's strongest point is not its size, but its ability to do a lot of work with moderate strength. Very suitable for small farms, especially gently undulating land, not too flat, but not too steep. My old neighbor Walter once said, "My 560 runs so smoothly that I can hear the ears of grain. Every time it passes, the ground vibrates slightly like a heartbeat at dusk." Underneath the red paint is a powerful heart, a 6-cylinder engine, producing nearly 66 PTO horsepower, an impressive number for a tractor in the early 60s. But what makes people love it is the way it starts like a deep breath, light, solid, and steady. The 5-speed transmission, plus the optional torque amplifier, helps change speeds while doing heavy work. For older farmers, this is a precious thing. No need to stop the engine. No need to press the clutch too much. The rear PTO is durable, can be used for choppers, balers, water pumps. Weight is about 6,500 pounds. Large rear wheels. Go on both slippery and hard ground, and do not damage the field. The repair? Not too difficult. There are many local garages that still restore 560s and spare parts, thanks to the Farmall-loving community. Can still be ordered online or found in used shops in the mid-US. For a farm of about 30 to 40 acres, the Farmall 560 can handle everything from tilling, fertilizing, to pulling heavy trailers. The chassis is moderate, easy to run in barns, under trees, between long rows. When buying used, take a close look at the cooling system, torque amplifier, and rear wheel brakes. If they are in good condition, you can rest assured to entrust the whole season to it. The Farmall 560, the red machine that was once the dream of many farmers, is still alive, still rolling through the afternoon pastures. It is a part of the memory of the first harvest, of the laughter of children in the hay bin, of the sunsets when the man quietly turned off the engine, looked up at the sky, and felt at peace. Sometimes, the land needs more than just strength. It needs the machine that breathes with the crops. If you've ever owned or driven a Farmall 560, tell me about it. Comments below. Ford 6610, 1982 to 1993. Manufactured by Ford Tractor Operations, assembled at plants in both Michigan and Basildon, England, but most of the vehicles shipped to the U.S. were domestic models, carefully engineered for American farmland. Between 1982 and 1993, tens of thousands of them were sold to farmers across the South Central and Midwest. Prices started at around $22,000, the equivalent of 2 years' income for a farming family at the time. Today, a well-maintained, original 6,610 typically fetches between $9,000 and $15,000, and many are willing to pay more if they know the previous owner has kept it. The Ford 6610 was a favorite in the Texas Panhandle, Arkansas, and even western Kentucky, where land was plentiful, but farmers still preferred the compact, easy to handle, and easy to repair machines. The 6610's greatest advantage is its ability to operate for a long time without requiring much care. A friend, a few words, but working steadily from dawn to moonrise. Lyle, an old friend from Oklahoma, once said, I drove the 6610 for 18 seasons. Every time I started it, it was like talking to an old friend. No words, just trust. The Ford 6610 uses a 4-cylinder diesel engine, about 78 horsepower PTO. But the good thing is that it starts easily. Even on a winter morning in Kansas, no need to be nervous. Just turn the key and wait for the engine to start like the breath of an experienced person. The standard transmission is 8 forward, 2 reverse, but the upgraded version can have up to 16 gears. Regardless of the version, the gear changes are smooth. Easy to use even for the elderly. Just need to get used to it after a session. The PTO works well with many small farm equipment. Water pumps, lawn rollers, fertilizer spreaders. The chassis weighs about 7,000 pounds. The tires are big, grip well, easy to operate on both clay and sandy soil. Spare parts still have plenty left, thanks to the old Ford community. The local garage in the south still repairs the Ford 6610 every week. For a farm of about 30 to 40 acres, the Ford 6610 was born to serve. Not too heavy, not too big, but strong enough to pull, plow, spread manure, pump water, cut grass, and do a little extra work if needed. When buying a used one, pay attention to the clock, the steering wheel vibration, and whether the engine sounds steady. A good 6610, even old, should still have a steady heartbeat like the crops of yesteryear. The Ford 6610, not flashy, not in need of the spotlight, but for me and many other farmers, it is part of the peaceful years where the soil is fragrant, the wind is clean, and time moves a little slower. Do you remember those April afternoons after the rain when you sit on the saddle, looking at each row of land as straight as the path your father left behind? And 6610 sits there, silently, waiting for its next assignment. If you've ever driven a Ford 6610, whether for a season or a lifetime, tell me about it in comments. Allis-Chalmers WD-45, 1953 to 1957. A name synonymous with the Midwest, the WD-45 was assembled in West Allis, Wisconsin, in the heart of hard-working America. From 1953 to 1957, more than 90,000 were delivered to farmers, enough to paint the American plains a bright orange. When it was first introduced, the WD-45 cost about $2,400, more than half the annual income of an average farm family at the time. Now, if you find one in good condition, you'll need to spend between $3,000 and $6,500, depending on the level of preservation and engine. The WD-45 was a familiar sight in corn and wheat fields across Illinois, Indiana, Kansas. The orange machine was neat, easy to operate, and could do more than its small appearance. One thing that makes people love the WD-45 is the power director system, allowing to switch between high and low speeds while running. For small farmers, it is like having a silent helper. My old friend Lewis in Iowa once said, "When I was 17, my father took me to the backyard, pointed at the WD-45, and said, 'This will teach you what work is.' And it did, from plowing in the spring to gathering hay in July." The WD-45 has a 4-cylinder engine, depending on the gasoline or diesel version, reaching 30 to 40 PTO horsepower. But the most important thing is its durability. It starts smoothly, even on cold winter mornings. The 4-speed gearbox with a traditional hand lever, simple, easy to grasp. For the elderly, it only takes a few hours to get used to it. The rear PTO shaft is powerful enough to run a harvester, a tiller, and even a water pump. Weighing in at just 4,000 pounds, the WD-45 is light on wet soil, doesn't sink, and is easy to maneuver in small fields. Sturdy frame, big rear wheels, good grip. Many local garages still have spare parts. There's even a volunteer WD-45 repair community. Old guys with wrenches, patience, and fond memories. On a 30 to 40 acre farm, the WD-45 does everything well, from early season deep plowing, mid-season fertilizing, to late fall haying. And because it's compact, it's easy to get into the barn, making it convenient for alternating between trees and pastures. One note, check the power director system. If the shift lever is light and the gears are smooth, you're looking at a tractor that could last another 20 years. The WD-45 is still alive, still rumbling through many small fields, like the whispers of our ancestors. Do you remember? The afternoon your father drove. You sat on the fender, dust on your face, the engine roaring, the sunlight slanted, the tractor's shadow stretched across the golden fields. Those memories, though covered with the dust of time, still live on in every sound of the WD-45's engine. If you ever owned, or ever dreamed of owning, a WD-45, tell us about it. Your story is part of the history, not just of tractors, but of working-class America. Massey Ferguson 135, 1964 to 1975. Manufactured by Massey Ferguson and assembled in Detroit, Michigan, the 135 was the company's most popular tractor, and perhaps one of the most beloved in America. Over 400,000 were sold worldwide between 1964 and 1975. Prices started at around $2,800, at a time when the average farmer's income was around $3,500 per year. Today, depending on condition, a good 135 can sell for $3,000 to $7,000, and many people are willing to pay more just to get a piece of their childhood back. The Massey 135 was popular from Georgia farms to Tennessee, Arkansas, and even the dry lands of West Texas, where people needed a small, durable, and versatile machine. What made the 135 legendary was not its power, but its simplicity and reliability. Anyone could learn to drive it, anyone could fix it, and it was always ready, every morning, every season. My wife's grandfather Ernest used to say, "It was small, but it never got tired. I used it to pull a manure spreader, then haul hay, then plow corn. It never left me on the road." The Massey 135 was equipped with a Perkins 3-cylinder diesel engine, about 38 horsepower PTO. But what makes people love it is how easy it is to start, even after a winter of not using it. The transmission has 6 forward gears, 2 reverse gears, simple, steady, light. For the elderly, just a few test turns can feel the rhythm of the machine. The rear PTO can pull everything: fertilizer sprayer, tiller, water pump. Weighing only 2,900 pounds, it moves easily into the barn, out to the field, and between rows of fruit trees without upsetting the rows. The steel frame is simple, spare parts are easy to find. There are even copies from third-party companies. Many young people choose the Massey 135 to learn the mechanic trade because it is like a textbook that knows how to start an engine. For a 30 to 40 acre farm, the Massey 135 is the ideal choice because it does not use too much fuel, does not require a large warehouse, and is easy to control even when old. When buying, check the clock, the sound of the engine when idling, and the transmission. If everything is smooth, then it is a machine you can deliver the whole crop. Massey Ferguson 135, small, durable, and full of memories. It is not the most powerful tractor, not the most modern, but for me, it is a mandolin in the world of electronic drums, simple, warm, and full of kindness. Do you remember? The weekend afternoon, your father adjusted the engine cover, wiped the dust with a bandana, then sat in the driver's seat, gently started the engine, and let the sound resonate like a spring song. Not everyone has those memories, but those who have had them will never forget. If you have owned, sat in, or just stood looking at a Massey 135 when you were a child, please share that story in the comment section. Thank you for taking the time to watch the video. See you in the next video. John Deere 4020, 1963 to 1972. Manufactured by John Deere in Waterloo, Iowa, the heart of American agriculture. Between 1963 and 1972, more than 184,000 4020s were sold, a significant number in an era when farmers earned just a few $1,000s a year. Back then, the starting price of a 4020 was around $10,000, almost a fortune. But today, if you're lucky enough to find one in good working condition, it can cost anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000, depending on condition and originality. The 4020 became especially popular in the Midwest, areas like Iowa, Illinois, Ohio, where the land was wide open and people lived on the prairies rather than in the cities. It wasn't the biggest tractor, but it was the perfect companion for small farms. Easy to handle, low maintenance, and powerful enough to get the job done from dawn to dusk. I remember Bert Thompson from Nebraska saying, "I got married in '68, which was also the year I bought the 4020. It helped me plant my first corn crop, pull the wedding box, and drive all 3 kids to school all summer." His voice was hoarse and warm like the afternoon wind behind the poplars. Under the hood was a 94 horsepower, 6-cylinder diesel engine. But what made people love the 4020 was not its power, but the way it started once and ran all day, whether it was a cold early morning or a hot July day. The power shift transmission with 8 forward gears, no need to stop the engine to change gears. For the elderly and those with weak hands, that was a blessing. The rear PTO can drive a variety of small equipment, lawn mowers, fertilizer spreaders, and feed mills, making the 4020 a workhorse for a 30 to 40 acre farm. Weighing in at around 9,000 pounds, with big rubber tires and a long, sturdy frame, it not only grips the ground but also rides smoothly and with little jolting when going over furrows. Spare parts? Easier than you might think. John Deere is still around, and many local garages can still fix the 4020 like an old friend. For a 30 to 40 acre farm, you need a tractor that can do a lot of things without having to change machines. From plowing, sowing, harvesting to winter snow removal, the 4020 does it all in a compact, easy-to-maneuver package for moderate terrain. A note on buying used. Pay attention to the gear shift and PTO shaft. If it's smooth and doesn't wobble, it's a sign of good health. Sam in Tennessee still uses his 4020 every week to haul hay, even though he's almost 80 years old. "I believe it's better than a new pickup," he says. More than half a century has passed, but the John Deere 4020s still rumble across the fields, a reminder of the hard work and perseverance of our ancestors. Do you remember the warm, soothing sound of the engine every evening? The shadow of the engine stretching out over the wooden fence as the red sun sets behind the hills? The feeling of sitting in the driver's seat, hands on the wheel, heart beating in rhythm with the earth? If you've ever driven a 4020, or simply sat next to your grandfather while he operated it, leave your story in the comments.